It's a once-in-a-lifetime event for our community.
The NFL selects Green Bay, Wisconsin.
And no one is getting you ready for the draft like Local 5. It's Titletown's turn. Presented by Gruber Law Offices. One call, that's all.
Good evening and welcome to the show. He is Kyle Malzahn. I'm Burke Griffin. We'll hear from Lauren Helmbrecht in just a moment. Titletown's turn. It's 2 weeks and 1 day and, a half hour?
Yeah, it's going to be so crazy, Burke. I just hope that people in this area and the people that come to this area realize how special it is.
Well, you'll see in just a moment the construction that's going on over there. They finally got the stage going with the roof on top of that. But look, this team, they're picking 23rd if they choose to stay there. Goody has made some moves in the past. That's a good thing, I guess, because that means you were a playoff team.
Right.
But you really do not know who you're going to get with 23, and then in that second round they've got number 54, and then third round number 87.
Yeah, you got 8 draft picks. Who knows if Goody gets more draft picks? I know he's a part of a team that really likes to draft and develop, and he really likes to have more than what he probably wants is 8 and more than that. So we'll see what they do come draft time and see if he moves up or down. But as you look at it, Burke, I mean, you got 2 7th-rounders. Maybe you get a little interesting and maybe move up a few spots in that second or third day.
Donald Driver,
There
Mark
we go.
Tauscher,
Yep.
7th-rounders, now Packer Hall of Famers.
Yep.
So, all right, guys who are gone.
Yeah.
This will probably be the last time we talk about them. Josh Myers at center, longtime starter for the past 4 years. Durable, but got hurt at the end of the season.
Yep.
Then you got Eric Wilson, very serviceable linebacker. He goes back to his old team, the Vikings. TJ Slayton showed flashes of just being a powerful run stopper. Look, A.J. Dillon, not career cut short, but didn't play because of that neck stinger. Who knows what his future is going to be. And look, Eric Stokes, I mean, the guy had 2 terrible injuries to both legs, and knee, ankle, you name it, and he came back, but he's done. He got beat quite a bit.
Yeah, I think when you look at that list, I think the Packers aren't sitting there thinking, man, we really let one of these guys slip away. They did it on their own terms, Burke, and I think they are more than fine with filling that production elsewhere, whether that is through the draft or obviously some of those guys who are now going to get a chance.
All good dudes.
Yep.
Great in the locker room, but they are moving on.
Yeah, and good luck to them.
Yep,
I mean,
moving on.
yeah.
All right, for more on this year's Packer needs and wants in the draft, Lauren Helmbrecht joins us live from Lambeau Field with more. Hello there, Lauren. How are you?
Hey, Burke and Kyle, I am live at the NFL Draft Theater where it is currently under construction. As you can see behind me, the roof is slowly rising, which indicates just how close we are to the draft being here in Green Bay. Now, the Packers have 8 overall picks through 7 rounds. Apologize. It's pretty windy out here, like it often is in Green Bay. And they have the 23rd overall pick. Now, coincidentally, the last 2 23rd overall picks were both wide receivers. Last season, it was Brian Thomas Jr. for the Jaguars. The season before, Zay Flowers for the Ravens. Now, the Packers don't really have a bona fide wide receiver 1. McCole Hardman comes in through free agency, but still not that true wide receiver 1. And obviously, Christian Watson is going to be out for a bit with an ACL. So earlier last month, I spoke with Mike Golick Jr., a college football insider and a podcaster at the NFL Combine, and asked him what he thinks the Packers need to look out for in this draft class.
I think in Green Bay, you're looking for playmakers on both sides of the ball, potentially in the wide receiver room, potentially in the defensive back room, depending on what happens. And I know 2 guys I was really impressed with talking who are going to be high draft picks, but maybe aren't talked about in those top 10 guys. Jaire Barron, the Thorpe Award winner out of Texas, great defensive back who really developed his game over the last couple of years. Was so impressed hearing about his process, his why, the things that have gotten him to this point. And then Emeka Egbuka out of Ohio State, another in a long line of really quality receivers to come out of that room. And he's another guy, the pedigree that Brian Hartline coaching that group seems to produce every year, I think can come in and instantly make a team better.
I found it interesting that Golick Jr. mentioned 2 positions that the Packers did bolster in free agency, seemingly indicating that he doesn't think the Packers have enough in the secondary and in the wide receiver room. Burke and Kyle, I'll send it back to you.
All righty, Lauren Helmbrecht reporting live over there at Lambeau Field. Interesting choices.
Yeah, I mean, as a Packers fan, you probably want a higher draft pick with a high ceiling and comes in and makes an impact right away. That's just kind of not the way that the Packers have rolled in the past.
All right, we'll make our guesses a little bit later on in the show, and when we come back on Titletown's turn, much like last year, the Packers bolstered their team with 2 free agents, and now we're going to turn to the draft to do more.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll take a peek at that offense and see how the Packers are looking heading into the draft and the season for 2025. That and more is coming up when we come back on Titletown's Turn.
And now, Draft Day Memories, brought to you by the True North Convenience Stores.
I was at home with my family, waiting on that name to be called. Some people can't be a first rounder. You feel me? Drop money, But now, it was a good experience though for sure. Being able to get my name called in the second round, coming to Green Bay, and the things that we was able to accomplish throughout these years. But it was definitely a good experience, one of the best experiences other than graduating. And enjoyed the moment.
Welcome back to Titletown's Turn, and the Packers draft needs 2 weeks and 1 day away from that first round. Not a bad selection developed a couple of years ago in the second.
Just one of those glue guys on the offensive line to hold up your $220 million quarterback.
And we'll talk more about the moves they will be making because of Josh Myers' departure, which means he'll be moving to center, I would assume. That's what everybody's saying so far. Look, while the draft festivities are going to be going on for pretty much from Sunday to Sunday, 8 straight days over there, it's going to be interesting to see how much access everyone truly has, whether it's us in the media or the fans. Once you get inside that NFL compound, the NFL is kind of taken over, and the Packers, beside their personnel and football group, they're going to be doing their own thing, worrying about who they're going to take. Yeah,
it's going to be really cool to see the players come on stage too, if you have access to it. And who knows, maybe there will be some bike riding. I know there were some rumors about that to get that Green Bay tradition in there. But when it comes to this team, Burke, they have a lot of work to do. They were 1-5 in the division. And talking about the Green Bay's offense, just in general, consistency has been a key word thrown around by Brian Gutekunst. And how do you get more consistent? We'll find out pretty soon.
We were very explosive at times last year. We had a very explosive football team, and that's important to us. We want to stay that way. But I thought there were times when we needed to control the football game. We weren't able to control the football game, whether that was through the passing game, the run game. We just weren't able to control the football game.
With the NFL draft looming, the Packers may not be able to control what other teams do during the 3-day event, but they do control the future of their team. When talking about the offense, let's start at quarterback. Now, it's safe to say that Jordan Love is the man in Titletown, and there won't be a need for a top thrower in the early rounds.
I think we're very, very excited about his growth, not only as a player, but what he's doing in our locker room as a leader. I've talked many times about how even keel he is, and I think his growth and the way he manages our football team has been pretty impressive. He's leading our team exactly how we want him to do it, so I'm excited about it.
Now, Green Bay needs to build around their $220 million quarterback. The Pack have used over 400 draft picks on offensive linemen, the most by any position group in the history of the Green Bay Packers. With Josh Myers out the door and Elton Jenkins moving to center, don't be surprised if you see the green and gold draft more depth up front.
We've always focused on versatility with our offensive linemen, whether it be because of injury or because we have players that leave. We feel really good about the flexibility of our guys to play multiple spots and try to get the best 5 on the field. So it's always impactful, but at the same time, I feel really good about our group right now.
Only 5 times have the Packers drafted a wide receiver in the first round, the last coming in 2002 when they selected Javon Walker. With Christian Watson recovering from the ACL injury, could Green Bay finally break a 22-year drought of drafting a wideout in the first round?
There was a time it really took receivers a couple years, 2-3 years to get to the point where they were productive for a team, and I think now with the way high school and college football are operating, those guys are coming into our league and making a bigger impact quicker.
There's no doubt that the Packers got huge contributions in their tight end and running back rooms, with Tucker Kraft and Josh Jacobs carrying the weight. But when it's Titletown's turn to host the draft, the Packers know that using their picks will be instrumental in bringing that Lombardi trophy back home.
Last year I was here and you guys were talking how we're going to catch the San Francisco 49ers. This year I'm sure it'll be the Eagles. It changes, right? And we got to concentrate on us and be the best we can be. And I know that if with the group that we have now, we'll add to it. If we do that and we hold our standards high, then I think all those things, will be attainable for us. All the goals we have.
And I think one player in specifically that the Packers are really hoping that comes onto the scene is going to be Luke Musgrave Burke, because he, was injured last year. And I think the Packers thought that Luke Musgrave was going to have the year that Tucker Kraft had, and then all of a sudden Tucker Kraft comes on the scene, and he's a big part of the reason why the Packers were contenders late in the year.
He's got to stay on his feet, right?
Yeah, Luke Musgrave, yeah.
Like Matt LaFleur kind of made fun of him after in one of his post-game press conferences. But you mentioned Tucker. Do you think teams figured out what the Packers were doing? Because early in the first half of the season, September, October, half of his catches, 5 of his 7 touchdowns. I mean, he was on his way to looking like the next Travis Kelce.
Yeah.
And it just never really got going later in the season.
Yeah, I think Matt LaFleur said it in his end-of-the-year press conference, that they got away from Tucker Kraft, and that's probably one thing that he regrets because of how much success he's had last year, and then he just kind of went ghost in the second half. And I think this year, with Luke Musgrave back, it's going to be really interesting to see how Matt LaFleur can use the 2 tight ends. Hopefully that they're both healthy the whole year. I know that's something that you can't really plan on, but we'll see what he can do and be creative, because this is an offensive-minded coach, and now you got 2 big weapons in this offense if Musgrave is back.
Well, and with Christian Watson out, like Lauren mentioned, McCole Hardman comes in, but he's also been hurt too. When he's healthy, he's kind of like a Jaden Reed, Randall Cobb, little scat-back slot guy, but we'll see what happens with them. And the offensive line, like I said, it looks right now it's in pretty good hands.
Yeah, and I think to touch on your McCole Hardman thing, I think whatever you get out of him at wide receiver is going to be a bonus, and I think you'll see a lot of him in the return game, especially with Keyshawn Nixon maybe getting a starting role full-time in the cornerback room.
All right, we've covered the offense. Time to head to the other side of the football.
Yeah, where the Packers have put a lot of draft stock into their defense in years past. Could they do the same this year? Or we'll explore it all when we come back on Titletown's Turn.
Welcome back to Titletown's Turn. In our last segment, we specifically talked about the offense. We're switching to the other side of the football. One of their best run stoppers is gone with TJ Slayton, as we mentioned earlier. They also might need a little help on the edge, getting pressure on the quarterback, right?
Yeah, that's been one of the biggest inconsistencies on this team, I feel like. Like one game against the Titans, they get 8 sacks. And then you look at the Bears, who had an atrocious offensive line, and they could only generate 2 in 2 games. But Lucas Van Ness, I mean, this guy needs to step up in a big way. And I think when you're the 13th overall pick, and this isn't anything that he's done, but when you're the 13th overall pick in a draft, I think, it opens up the conversation of did we take him too quick? And, heading into year 3, you want to see that jump from him, especially if the Packers aren't going to get a veteran. And for Lucas Van Ness, he feels healthy, ready to go, and excited to get this year underway.
Sitting here on April 8th, looking into the season, I mean, this is obviously the most important one, as it's the next one ahead. My goal every single day is to come to work and, put that effort in and then ultimately put the best product on the field on Sundays. I think we have a great group, and whether we take 2 guys or we take nobody, I think we're all going to come to work every day, and we're going to compete against each other for our spots, and we're gonna work hard. And again, I love the guys we have in our room. I think we're all hardworking. We love the game of football, and I'm excited to see what we can do together.
And now heading into year 2 with Jeff Hafley being the coach, I think it's a really good time right now for Jeff Hafley to see what he can do with a full offseason and some of his, rush schemes and whatnot. It's going to be really fun to see this year.
Whether it's Kingsley Enagbare or whoever, they're going to need a little more production getting to the quarterback if they want to be successful in today's NFL.
100%.
Another position? Oh, by the way, corner, defensive end, corner, quarterback, left tackle. Those are the premier spots. They've got one of the highest paid guys in defense in the entire league, and that's Jaire Alexander. For more on him, let's go back to Lambeau Field Live, where Lauren Helmbrecht is standing by once again. Hey there, Lauren.
Hey, Burke and Kyle. So there's a big question mark surrounding the future of Jaire Alexander. This offseason, the Packers brought in free agent cornerback Nate Hobbs. And at the end of the season, Jaire Alexander kind of made a comment that said, I don't know if I'm going to be here next year, as he was doing his locker clean out. He has been out 27 games because of injuries over the last 4 seasons, and he's a huge financial hit on the team as well, around $26.6 million each year. Now, Jaire is a very strong player on this Packers team. He's contributed a lot. He's a leader in the locker room when he wants to be, but then there's obviously sometimes where there's miscommunications with the team. But this past week, Jaire was actually training with Xavier McKinney, the fellow secondary member of the Packers, and they were on Instagram together working out, showing that the Packers player and his teammates, they're supporting one another. But realistically, it's hard to know what the Packers are going to do with the future of Jaire Alexander. When asked directly at the owners' meeting, Brian Gutekunst said that he was talking with Ja's agent and that he wants to keep working with Ja to find a solution that works for both of them, but obviously one that works financially for the Packers, indicating that if the Packers are going to trade him, they want to make some money off of it. Burke and Kyle?
All right, thank you, Lauren. Lauren Helmbrecht reporting live over there. We were trying to think of some names as far as defensive backs go. Demarius Randall. Quentin Rollins. I mean, they've invested a lot. I mean, Darnell Savage in that secondary. And if you can't run and you got a knee issue, you can't play in this league. We can't see it turning into a David Bakhtiari deal where you're paying top dollar for a guy who is barely out there because he's hurt all the time.
And exactly, Burke. And if you can't get pressure to the quarterback with 4, then you better be locked down on the outside in your secondary as well. So the Packers right now, I mean, they got Nate Hobbs, which was a nice piece. Hopefully he'll come into this team and be, Xavier McKinney, Josh Jacobs, new place, new energy, and be an X factor.
Well, an X is a stud. Keyshawn Nixon, who knows if he's going to take that jump ahead. I mean, obviously they kept him as a return guy, but the kickoff has changed so much
He's
now.
Lucky he got paid when he did.
He got very lucky. And look, Edgerrin Cooper can clearly be a difference maker. Don't give up on Quay Walker just yet, but they'll probably draft another linebacker too.
Yeah, I think the Packers said it at the GM meetings is that they just need depth. And I think drafting maybe somebody in this, draft class could maybe light a fire under some of these guys in that linebacker room, especially a guy like Quay Walker who has so much potential, just inconsistent at best.
I know Mark Murphy said that he doesn't care whether or not they trade out of the first round, but that's going to stink if they do and they're hosting the draft and everyone's going to be waiting, and then they got to do what's best for them. And if they can make more draft capital out of it, fine. But it's like that buildup is going to be there the whole night.
And Packers fans will be too drunk anyway.
All right, as we head to break, here's your medical huddle from Amplify Health by Bell & Health. Welcome back to Titletown's Turn. Time now to make our picks where we are almost always wrong.
Always wrong.
Bubba Franks and AJ Hawk, those I think are the only two I've gotten right in 30 years, literally. Sitting at number 23, that's a good thing because that means they're a quality team. But I think they're going to beef up that D-line to get more pressure on opposing quarterbacks and an edge rusher like Michael Williams, a defensive end out of Georgia. He's 6'5", 260 pounds, and as we've seen before, they love those big school SEC defensive players, especially the Bulldogs. So I'm taking him, kind of a Micah Parsons type, long, lean, fast, got a little edge on him. I'm going that route. How about you?
All right, Burke, I think this is the year that Packers fans finally get their wish with pick number 23. I think the Packers go wide receiver, Emeka Egbuka. Try saying that a few times fast.
Go ahead.
I think with Christian Watson out to start the year and his contract coming out, this could be the insurance the Packers need. Egbuka with an in-person draft visit to Green Bay already to meet with the green and gold. The star-studded wideout finished his college career as Ohio State's all-time leader in receptions, second in receiving yards with over 2,800. The Packers were way too streaky at wideout, and I think this is the year they take one at wide receiver. Lauren, how about you?
Burke, I agree with you. I think the Packers are going to go defensive line, and I think they're going to take Derek Harmon out of Oregon. He is 310 pounds, 6'5", and he had 55 pressures last year, the most in college football. It's actually 11 more than anyone else did last year. He also put up 5 sacks, and he's from the former Pac-12, so I'm a little biased on that one.
Well, first let's start with breaking down if Green Bay goes offense or defense with pick number 23. After taking Jordan Morgan in round 1 last year and paying Aaron Banks the big bucks in the offseason, I think O-line is out of the picture in that first round. And the only other position that Green Bay would consider on that side of the football is wide receiver. But even with Christian Watson down, the Packers still have 5 viable options at wideout. Also worth noting, as Kyle mentioned earlier in the show, Green Bay hasn't taken a receiver in the first round since 2002. So I'm going to go with defense. Give me cornerback Maxwell Hairston, fastest corner at the combine, running a ridiculous 4.28 40, an all-conference player as a sophomore, and a guy who can learn a lot from Nate Hobbs, who is making his debut in the green and gold this year, as well as Jaire Alexander, while also providing a cushion at that position with the uncertainty surrounding Jaire.
All righty. Thank you, Cam, Lauren. Good stuff. And as we wrap things up tonight, again, this is such a crapshoot.
Yeah.
It's an inexact science.
No.
And like they say, 3 years from now is usually the general rule when you can go back and look at the draft and go, okay, boom, bust, boom, great job. Oh, my goodness, this guy really exceeded all expectations.
Yeah, and I think Brian Gutekunst, I wouldn't say his legacy, but his reputation maybe with the Pack will fall on the shoulders of Jordan Love, Burke. I mean, that was a bold move and one that is paying off for right now. Let's see if Jordan Love can keep it up, too.
Well, the free agent things, those worked out really well
100%.
last year. We'll see how these 2 new guys coming in on the O-line and defensive backfield, if they pan out as good as those other 2, then the table is set to really be picky at where you want to slot a certain guy. If there's one, left tackle or guard. And who knows what happens with Rasheed Walker.
Yeah.
And last year's number 1 guy, Jordan Morgan.
Yeah.
I mean, showed signs of being a player, but he was hurt for most of the season.
Yeah, and maybe he'll get reps at left tackle or right guard and be a nice Swiss Army knife backup type guy who could play all 5 positions, but going to want to see a lot of him this year, too.
Just run the ball with Josh Jacobs, right?
Yeah, just run the ball with Josh Jacobs. Good things happen, and then the ball finds Xavier McKinney's hands.
Separate the play action pass from the deep bombs down the field. All right, don't forget to join the Local 5 team next Wednesday as we enter the final countdown to draft week. Thanks for tuning in. Local 5, your home for complete and unique coverage.